Carl, that was an embarrassment. It was as ugly as it gets, an absolute ass-kicking Sunday night during the Blowout at MetLife Stadium, almost a Giant Stadium there. Your thoughts, you choose to just look at that game as a one-off, throw it out the window, or is there something there that maybe the Giants are not as good as some people thought?
Well, I think it's a combination of all the above. I think the Dallas Cowboys sent a message, and we will know more about the Giants other than the fact that they're not going undefeated this year. But we'll see what they learn from this game, because if they don't, I can just tell you this much. Every team on the schedule now they're licking their chops to come and play the Giants. They're looking to make a rep for themselves against this Giant team, because there are a lot of disturbing things that happened in that game, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. The amount of pressure that the Daniel Jones had to face, and some of his decision-making when he did have opportunities to make plays, it sends a signal to teams that, hey, if you get some early pressure on Daniel Jones, he'll get rattled and he won't settle down. He's got to show that this offense has to show that they can work under duress. And it was raining, and it was pouring Cowboys in the Giants' backfield. So they have their work cut out for them. I think they're built for it. When you have a loss that bad, you just have to just kind of erase the slate and say, okay, let's work on the things that we have to. But just know, in a defeat like that, they're going to keep coming for you now. Every team will challenge you, and they're all going to try to make a rep for themselves.
What do you think, Carl, of Daniel Jones' performance?
Well, I don't think he performed well at all. He had some bad decisions. And like I said, he was under duress. And, what happens when you get the crap knocked out of you a lot, it does impair how you process things. His internal clock, you could tell, was way off kilter, but he has to be better. He has to be able to still himself and to make the plays that are there. And I think that's the one thing that I have admired about Eli Manning, because he did not always have perfect situations, but he could steady himself and, go from one play to the next play, even if that next play was a bad one. But when the good ones came, he would make good decisions and make good passes when he was counted on to do that. I don't question Daniel Jones' toughness. I don't even question his mental toughness. What I will say, though, his mental endurance under duress is the thing that we're going to find out about. And listen, I think we've seen enough football this first week of the season to know that there are no perfect offensive lines. Every quarterback, even in the Jets game, those quarterbacks, both sides of the football, were under duress because these defensive linemen are good. And you just have to, as a quarterback, where you earn your keep is to be able to make the decisions that are good when their opportunity presents itself.
Hey, by the way, Carl, good to have you back in the middays, buddy. I love it.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. All right, so listen, Brian Daboll is an incredible asset. Everybody knows that. Mm-hmm. What went down the other night happens to every team at some point, where every facet of the game implodes and just everything is a complete mess. So I absolve Daboll of that for the most part, because I think he's a terrific coach. What I will not absolve him of, because this is reckless, like, I understand you want to gain a little momentum for week 2. What the hell are you running Daniel Jones out there when you're down by 30-plus points and you have Cowboys teeing off on your franchise quarterback? What was he doing with that?
That's a good question. I said it on air, too.
Like that, Carl, that's reckless.
I said on the air that they need to get him out because he had some kid jumped off sides and mollywopped him, and then the very next play, the same kid hit him again, and he got called off sides for that one. And I'm like, you know what? You're paying a lot of money. There's nothing to be learned by keeping him out there in a blowout of this magnitude. And you're not chasing points. You're not even going to get into the game that late into it. He should have set him. And I think in hindsight, and I haven't talked to Daves about that, but I think at some point he probably will look back at this and say, you know what? I shouldn't have left him out there.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. He'll make the adjustment. And by the way, unless I missed it, which I do not think that I did, very bad job by the New York media not going to that and actually, getting an answer to that question. So it's all to Carl Banks here with BT and Sal on the Fan. Carl's back, of course, a radio broadcast of the Giants. He's been there for a while, champion. So offensive line. All right, so the thing about Andrew Thomas, when Thomas first burst on the scene, he was getting hammered around a little bit, rightfully so. Was not playing well, and we're like, oh, is this guy a bust? And then, boom, the tape changed, and his reputation changed. Evan Neal did not have a good rookie year, and he looked worse the other night. So, whereas Thomas, after a rough start as a rookie, the last 5, 6, 8 games, graded out very well. How worried, honestly, Carl, are the Giants about Evan Neal?
I don't think they are at this point. I think when you guys should ask other offensive line coaches around the league, the development process for offensive linemen is just not as rapid as it used to be. I mean, you could get a guy enough reps to get him ready to go, but now they're seeing it for the first time, and you got to get enough. They can't practice them anymore, and so you have to just live with some bad things. But I will say this much: I don't know. I don't. I can't tell you he's going to be all right, and I can't tell you he won't, because the Dallas Cowboys, you say styles make fights. This was the worst matchup, this offensive line, and we talk about Evan Neal, and he's kind of the trigger point for fans. But when you look at the entirety of the collective of this Giant offensive line performance, they were all bad, all of them. Glowinski next to him was not good. No. And listen, Evan probably could have been better if he got a little bit of help. They're running twists and they're just turning guys loose. So, yeah, I mean, you see what you see. I can't spin it, sugarcoat it, nor would I want to. It is what you saw. The layer beneath that is they all played bad, including Evan. So it doesn't excuse him for his performance, but they all played bad, and the guy next to him, and playing offensive line is a team sport. You got to be able to communicate, and each guy has to execute. He didn't have that help, but across the board, they were a bad group.
Carl, why should we believe in this Giants team? Now, I do. I love Coach Daboll. I believe the Giants are going to be a legitimate team in the NFC, but I was proven wrong already out of week 1 because I thought they closed the gap between the Eagles and the Cowboys, and obviously that is not the case. If anything, it looks like the gap has been widened. But give us hope, reasons for why Giant fans should think that was an aberration on Sunday night.
I can't give you hope.
Oh, shoot. I was hoping that wasn't
it. No. It's up to the players. And they can't talk about it because no one's going to take their word for it. I said it to you guys when you're in camp. I think from a personnel standpoint, they're a better football team. Will that manifest itself in better record or better performance? It didn't on Sunday night, but there are 16 more games left in the season, and I suspect that they're going to have more good games than they have bad games. And I'm not, like I said, it's up to them to show the fan base, but it's more about them showing themselves, because all they've done is send an invitation to the rest of the league to come and try them and make a rep for yourself. And it's up to them to beat back all the competition. I think they're built that way. I think their constitution, from the coaching to the players, is that they will compete. So, but we'll see how that goes. I know they're better talent-wise. That has to materialize on the field. So I can't be the guy and say to you, hey, it's going to be better. We have to see it. And I have to see it as well. Mm-hmm. But I do believe they are a better team personnel-wise.
Carl, only about 30 seconds or so, and this is probably admittedly a better question like during the summer leading up to the start of the season, but we didn't have you on at that point, so I'll ask you now. or at least state this and get your opinion. Like my position over the summer was, hey, like the foundation, the infrastructure of the Giants is finally strengthened with a GM and a head coach. Okay, there's still in certain spots a dearth of talent, so let's not go nuts here. And they won some games last year. You give them credit, but fortunate turnover margin. Some teams we thought maybe were better than they were. We thought they'd be better, like Tennessee, Green Bay, whatever. Like I think the Giants this year can miss the playoffs, win fewer regular season games, which, by the way, for the record, I think will happen on both counts, but still be in position to strike and move forward next year. Is that something that you embrace as a former player of the team that actually went to the playoffs last year, or is that a loser mentality?
I think that's a loser mentality. You don't concede that until you're officially eliminated.
I mean, Giant fans, though. I'm sorry. I meant Giant fans. I know the players aren't going to do that.
Giant fans the same. I don't concede your season. Too many things happen during the course of the year to your opponents. Just things happen. So don't concede anything. You want to stay alive and you want to get to the playoffs and you want to win one more game than you won the year before. And if you don't win that one more game in the playoffs, at least you're there and you are in position to strike. But after one game and what you saw was bad, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just throw the dirty water out and refresh. And that's what, this Wednesday is about for every team in the NFL. If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, they pulled their quarterback out of the game because they couldn't protect him and they were getting blown out. They're not going to look at that as their quarterback is not good enough for them. They're going to come back, retool, and try to win the next game. And that's what this league is about. It's 17 of them, 16 left, and hopefully postseason. So you take them one at a time because you never concede that your season is over as a fan until you're officially eliminated.
Yeah, and that may come as early as week 2 if they don't get find a way to win here in Arizona. All right, Carl, we appreciate the time. Look forward to talking to you again next Wednesday, hopefully after a win.
Thank you, man.
All right, Carl.
Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata on the Fan.